everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the second season of our main Dark Matters podcast. Today's guest is someone I've eagerly mentioned in many previous episodes. He has an extraordinary mind and a remarkable ability to deconstruct deeply rooted narratives, especially those shaped by what we call Disney Vaticanized timelines. He has uncovered ancient truths and exposed the hidden history of our land, Albion, the Holy Land, Scotland, Ireland or Ireland, and beyond. In his own words, he slowly began to realise that all the biblical stories which he'd studied for years and years were actually written in the heavens over the British Isles. So there is no better guide or witness for this dawning age of divine knowledge than our guest, Stephen J.D. Beattie. Since childhood, Stephen has explored the land tirelessly, searching for its secrets from its star forts to its waterways and standing stones. He has followed these clues across Albion, tracing its spine and its 33 nodes, which he likens to the 33 vertebrae of our spine or Jacob's ladder. He smashes 5D bullshit narratives and demolishes New Age spirituality at his leisure, giving life back to the true divine template of our ancestors. Stephen links this to the lost tribes of the British Isles and the tree of life mapped in the stars. As above, so below, as they say, the kingdom of heaven is truly both within and without. Stephen's journey began as a Christian pastor, but he has also studied Orthodox, Rabbinic, and Messianic Judaism, delving into the Kabbalah and the Mishnah and the Talmud, to name but a few. Eventually, he left the Christian church and all religious dogma to follow his own path, inspired by the works of Jung, Albert Pike, Manly P. Hall, Commons Beaumont, alongside many, many others. His studies also include ancient languages like Hebrew or Hibernia and Aramaic, alongside a deep interest in ancient civilizations. And if that wasn't enough, Stephen also breaks down the codification of the fiat, fake, black inverted legal system and its serpent tongue. The decapitated, the all caps fiction, the walking dead in the realm of the dead. He connects this with the bar or Arthur the Great Bear, the levels and the canopy of the tree of life in the heavens, tying it to the Canaan pie or Cana pie and the pineal gland, which of course is at the top rung of our ladders. So Stephen, it's truly an honour to have you here. Thanks so much for being here. I know, like I say, that was an extremely long intro.
That
Probably
was
one of
some
my
introduction. Wow. Thank you. It was amazing. Do I really need to be here? You just gave it all away.
People say that, like, how do I follow that intro now, Carly? What have you done to me, like,
Yeah,
But I could have gone on. There was you've done so much and you've covered so much. So yeah, I suppose the first question has to be, how did you begin and how did you get here? Especially there's that this is a highly anticipated chat. Loads of people are really looking forward to it. But for those that don't know you and aren't familiar with your work, obviously I've given a slight introduction there, but how did you kind of get into this and these discoveries and end up kind of where you are at today?
Like as always, stumble. I stumbled into it. There was things going on in my life. I wasn't happy internally in my life. I was in religion. I was visiting the Middle East twice a year, believing it was the real Israel. I was saving up. I mean, it cost a fortune to go to Israel and the Middle East. It was like £3,000-4,000 for a couple of, and then you're spending money. But that meant that much to me that I was going there twice a year because I was knee deep in the religion of Judaism. And it was when I was at the Kotel, or the Wailing Wall, as we call it in the West. I just got this feeling over me that this isn't right. This is wrong. And then there was things in my head, like reading the biblical accounts, studying them for years, and thinking, how did all this happen here? Because Israel is only 9 miles wide. So how can it all possibly? And even if you were to dispute the borders and the lands and the battles and the borders of what present day Israel is, it still wasn't big enough to cover what I was reading geographically in size, what I was reading in the Bible. So I came back and I wasn't happy in my marriage. The woman was absolutely lovely, but she wasn't for me. And I've always been very inquisitive and asking questions. And I was asking too many questions, basically, in the relationship about things which challenged her faith. And created a divide between us. And then eventually I came back to Aberdeenshire, where I was living in Glasgow. And I came back to Aberdeenshire where I'd grown up. And when I came back, it's quite sad actually. My dog, I had a chocolate Labrador, she was really ill and she was dying. So, and she died, but I took her in spirit, just a dog lead. The vet actually took her and put her to sleep completely. But I took a dog lead and walked up to a hill known as Tullis Hill in Aberdeen. And I stood there, and as I stood there thinking about Abby, my dog, I looked over and I thought, the standing stones, that's the story of the heavens. It just came to me. And that was in 2013. So in 2012, I had an emotional sort of experience, left my synagogue. I was a leader in the synagogue. I left my wife. And this was all happening because I'd been to Israel and the Middle East. Nothing felt right. Things didn't seem right. And I hadn't looked at standing stone since I was 17, 18. And now I was in my 40s. And then I came back to Aberdeen where I originally came across standing stones as a child. And it was a sad moment because it was a very emotional moment because my best friend had left me. My dog had gone. She died on me. So I'm standing there looking over, and then all of a sudden it was as if the hand of God came down and said, Stephen, look, don't be sad. This is what's happening. And suddenly I started to realize the hill that I was on represented the house of Cephas, which I knew from when I was a child. Because when I was a child, I came to Aberdeenshire and I mapped like all the standing stones. And I wrote a book in school, a little book, and basically it was about the house of Cephas and how it made a house, like an upside down house, which is actually the letter B alphabet, Aleph, Bet. Alpha is the frame of heaven. So Ursa Major is Alpha, makes the pyramid down in Britain, A. And Cephas is the letter B, and the old writing, the old Paleolithic Hebrew or the old language, it was pictures, and the letter B is a house. So the house of Cephas, where I was, I realised I'm on the house of Cephas here. I'm in the house. I'm actually in the house. The second letter, because I realised this that all the alphabet is the heavens, A, B, C, and so on. Gimel is the camel, Camelarpus, which is the letter C, and so on. These are all letters, and I had this realisation that wow, it's not bad. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. And then from there, from there, I went back to castles and stuff that I'd visited as a child. And I came across a family crest on this castle. It was called Fitneer Estate. And that's really the moment that triggered everything. I'd realised when the dog had died and I was up on the hill that I was back under the heavens. It sort of woke my consciousness again, not to the religious stuff that I'd been involved in, but it woke my consciousness to God and the heavens and the stars and the standing stones. And then I went to this castle, and on this castle at this estate, there was a dragon and a shield. And I thought, wow, what does a dragon represent? And from there, I realized there was Cephas up in the heavens, and then you've got Draco in the heavens. So I thought, wait a minute, there's a connection. 2-3 weeks ago, I'm saying goodbye to my dog. I'm being reminded of Cephas. Now I'm seeing the Draco on this castle. So I went away and looked at all that because that's what I do. Who owned the castle? How did it, what was it used for? But there was a lot of dark history in the castle. St Macca's Cathedral in Aberdeen used it as a holiday place, but they abused children there, and there was bodies found there at one of the. So I knew there was a dark history, so I dug a little bit deeper, and I found out the clan name was Vladislav. Now you should recognise the word Vlad. So, yes. And the word Slav is the word slave.
Oh, right.
Slavic, we get the word Slavic or slave, or Serbian, servant, Serbian, servant. So right. Slav, Vladislav was the name. So I looked it up, and it was a guy called Bartov. I'll take a little drink of my tea. A man called Bartov Vladislav, and he came in the 1060s and 1070s. So during 1066, the battle of, what do you call it again, the Norman invasion, he came to Scotland. And he came with a woman called Margaret of Hungary, who was Princess Margaret, who later married Malcolm Canmore. Now, Malcolm is Moloch. Moloch, Canmore means big head. And Malcolm Canmore, one of the early kings of Scotland, was actually a giant, just like William Wallace was a giant, and they were all giants. So they were invaders. But Malcolm Canmore and Margaret of Hungary married. She was actually a descendant of Edward Etheling of England, who had been disposed of his crown and put in exile. And she was in exile in Hungary, in Transylvania and Hungary. And this Barclay Leslie, who had owned this Leslie estate, the castle. There's actually a place here called Leslie in Aberdeenshire. There's a place in Fife called Leslie. But Malcolm Canmore rewarded the name's Leslie, Vladislav. They changed their name to Leslie. And the Malcolm Canmore dynasty have always honoured the Leslie family. But they're actually not human. They're not like us. They're the ones who came, and we can trace the New World Order to that actual lineage, Vladislav. And that's where it started.
Interesting. Isn't that's interesting as well, because I think, we in that kind of standardized narrative, it's always the Rothschilds or the Red Shields and all these things, and they all play the part. But I always say that the dark is something that those names aren't really spoken, are they? Purposely so.
No, it goes back to a man called Bartov Vladislav, and he was known as a Flanders or Flemish, but he was actually from Hungary. And in Switzerland, there's a place named after him, Laszlo. There's lots of places named after him, actually. But then they took the name Leslie, and it's one of the biggest Scottish clans in the world, actually. But I say to people, just because your name's Leslie doesn't mean that you're one of them, because the thing that people don't understand, we didn't have censuses and we didn't have surnames until the legal fraud came in, and that didn't come in until the 1400s. So my name was never Beatty. No. It may have been, but I took it from a laird or a lord. We all took our surnames from whoever estates we were living on, or wherever the lords were. We took a surname because we never had surnames. But because a lot of people get freaked out when I say, "Oh, my name's Leslie." It's like, no. But there's a standing stone in Scotland. It's known as the Rhynie Man, and it's up near Inverness and display in a museum up there. But the Rhynie Man is basically, it was a stone found in a field near a place called Rhynie in Aberdeenshire. And Rhynie is next to a place called Leslie, which is the place where they were given, and all the way down to Fife, and then even over on Ireland they were given lands. Now I've mapped all this as the reason why they were given lands from the north, and then through Orion's Belt, central Scotland, and then over to Ireland. It's because it's the same journey that the Queen Elizabeth took when she died. She came down from Balmoral, and it's the same with the Leslie family. They run all the way down. There are actually 4 families that run the world from Scotland. And again, I'm going to say, just because I'm mentioning names doesn't mean for any of your viewers out there that you're one of them. But the 4 families that come from the land of Vladislav, and these were mercenaries that came over. So Margaret of Hungary was exiled. She was a princess. Edward of Etheling was her grandfather. He was exiled. The Norman invasion happened in 1066. 10 years later, they come to Northumberland, to Tynecastle. They're crossing the Firth of Forth further up, and they come across, Margaret struggling and crossing the Forth, and they help her over. And then when they take her over, Malcolm Canmore, the King of Scotland, who's from Banff, up in the very north of Scotland, he comes down to meet Margaret because he knows she's coming. And he's hopeful that maybe he can get a bride. And he does. He ends up marrying her, and they have very children and so on. And they're all evil, but they're Nephilim. They're offspring Nephilim, all of them. And there's a standing stone just not far from a place called Leslie, and a place called Riney. And it's got this picture of a man. It's called the Riney Man. And it's a man with very sharp teeth and a big hooked nose and pointy ears. It's not human. It's called the Riney Man. Now, this is a depiction of when they came, because they came here originally 4,000 years ago. And when we look at standing stones and burial mounds 4,000 years ago, there's a change happens. People start burying their dead rather than placing them in graves. So there's burning of the bodies, which when I investigate, why would they burn the bodies? Well, they're trying to hide who they are. But about 4,500 years ago, these people came, and with sharp teeth and pointy ears, and they weren't like us. And they came into the northeast of Scotland. And there's a reason why they came into the northeast of Scotland, because Cephas is Peter, and Cephas, which I spoke about earlier, as I discovered as a child, is Peter's pearly gates, the gate to heaven. So they came in, not into the south of England, which was mostly underwater, but they came to the north, to the highlands, and to the house of Cephas, the house of rebirth, to be resurrected again. Because normally they can't pass through Orion. Their spirit can't pass through Orion. But they've hijacked the Rose Line, and the Rose Line goes right up by Balmoral and so on. Almost right Balmoral. So, I mean, people love the Rose Line, the idea of the day lines, but the Rose Line, as the word says, rose, arise, to rise. It's where they rise from the underworld. It's their spiral. It's their staircase. It's their Jacob's ladder. It's where they rise from, and it cuts through. Everybody goes to, what do you call it? Rosslyn Chapel. It's a trap. It's an energy loop, so that they can ascend up into the house of Cephas, because otherwise they can't get through Orion's belt. Everything to do with them is Orion's belt, and Sirius is who they worship, the energy. It keeps them alive. But thousands of years ago in Scotland, these people came, and then in the year 10, what we understand is 1076, Margaret Canmore came with a second incursion of these things to try and take over Scotland or Britain or the tree. And they managed to, because they married into Malcolm Canmore's line, who then Malcolm Canmore's daughter Matilda, or granddaughter, ends up marrying King Edward of England, and the two crowns are united back in the 1100s by a bloodline, a pact. It's not human. So, and we've been ruled by them ever since.
I'm just like, it's like whenever I speak to you, Stephen, and we just have chats on the phone or just before we came on camera, I'm just like, I mean, for me,
I know, it's so much. It's so much.
Oh, no, I absolutely love it. And people who follow my channel will be totally getting this. It's a lot of information, as we always say, but it you know, once I found your work, you know, with Neil and obviously Larry as well, and I know you've met Larry, and I haven't
met Larry yet. I haven't met him yet. No, I really want to meet him.
I thought you.
I don't know. Are you in contact with him? Because you said he's not well.
No, he hadn't been, but we still have the intent to do a live event with you. Neil obviously said he would come, Larry would come, so just to, you know, have a full day like talking about all this stuff and getting you guys to speak and to meet each other, because like for me, like I'm like I say, I'm always very humble to it, because it's my journey on the channel. Is like we were talking off camera, weren't we? I did the Saturnian thing and the Satan and all the code, you know, kind of codifications that come with all of it. Language and everything.
yeah.
And you can get stuck there, can't you? But one thing I never am is static like that. I'm always willing to kind of move and
Well,
shift and change. But
can I just say, just while you said there, because I think this is important, we did say before that what I'm talking about eliminates all the bullshit. See the crap everybody's chasing, even the false spirituality. I have so many friends who are chasing spirituality, whether it's Asianaska or Campbell, or what the heck are you stabbing yourself with bloody hot? How is that going? And your eyes, and what? Why are you doing all this nonsense? What I'm trying to show people is this stuff. But I've stumbled on this. This is not. This is just. I've studied it for years, but I've stumbled onto a miracle
yeah,
that can help everyone. Because this, what I talk about, Britain, the spine of Albion is the tree of life. The
yeah,
upper part of the canopy of the tree is Northern England, Northumberland, Tynecastle, Lowlands Scotland, and the Highlands and the very north of Scotland is the canopy of the tree. And the reason why is right in the centre up there is Polaris. And Polaris circumvents, goes round, or the little bear, the tail of the little bear sits on Polaris, and I'll show you this. And Polaris goes round, and it's been like that. The North Celestial Pole is the tree of life, and the tree of good and evil is over Hadrian's Wall. And
yeah.
that's what Hadrian's Wall represented the Milky Way. The Milky Way represents to the Egyptians, and the Egyptians weren't a people, by the way. The Egyptians never existed. The Egyptians was a school of thought, of philosophy. The word Egyptos is a Greek word which means the lesser ones or the lesser gods.
Okay.
All it means, there's never anywhere called Egypt. Egypt didn't exist. But I do have maps that show all over Britain, Egypt, 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 ancient Egypt. The reason why is because beyond Hadrian's Wall, south of Hadrian's Wall, into England, you start entering into the world of the underworld, the realm of Hades, Hadrian's Wall, and you come out of the slip of the Milky Way. The Milky Way comes over Britain, over Ireland, and it goes over Dublin. And I'll show you this as well. I've got everything on maps, but the hospital in Dublin that they've just built, the new children's hospital, you might have seen posts of mine. It's shaped like an eye. Everybody, when it first was built, oh, it's the all-seeing eye. No. It's not the all-seeing eye. The goddess Nut represents the Milky Way, and she's spread over, and all the heavens, all the canopy, all the stories are in the Milky Way. And this Milky Way spreads over Britain. It actually spreads over Paris. That's why we had the Olympic Games there. So it spreads over the Seine River, the Seine River. And then it swirls round and comes up over Galway, because it's a wave, a sin wave. And it goes, Nut, the goddess Nut, spreads over the Milky. She's the goddess Nut over the Milky Way, and her breasts hang down at the paps of Jura in Scotland. That's why they're called paps of Jura.
Yeah, we were chuckling about that, weren't we, on the phone? Because I'm just a bit of a child sometimes. I was like, the word
it's all right. I was laughing about it too. So the last thing I'm wearing,
sorry about that, everybody.
And the new hospital isn't an all-seeing eye, but it's actually the vulva, the vagina of Nut. And Ireland is known as the children of Lear, Lir. And Lear is Cygnus the Swan. Now, Cygnus the Swan sits at the end of the Milky Way, and the Egyptian, or philosophers, what we know as the Egyptians, called it the Great Cacula, the yoke of creation.
Right.
It's like, so Cygnus the Swan is also called the Northern Cross. There are three crosses in the story of Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? There's the two witnesses at either side. One of those witnesses is the crux in the sky, known as the crux. The second witness is the rebel in us, Nimrod or Orion. And that's where this system, they cannot go through Orion. They're the rebel, the Nimrod. They can't go through Orion. That's the second cross. Take up your cross daily. The third cross is the Cygnus, the swan, that sits at the end of the Milky Way. And immediately under Cygnus is the house of Cephas, the house of resurrection. So what we understand is Bible stories are, it's all written. And even the Quran, even the Vedic texts, everything originates here.
Yeah. Wow. And I think, like you say, we know well, we know now, because again, it's like that species with amnesia thing. How can we kind of heal from a past when we don't know what it is? How can we move forward and that's why this stuff is that this is the real deal stuff, isn't it? And that's why when we
Yeah,
say, and I'm not saying that, satanic ritual abuse, all that stuff doesn't go on, of course, because
no, it
we know
does go. It
absolutely
does, yeah.
goes on. But again, there's more to the story, isn't there? I mean, can you obviously, Neil talks about the we say the elites, or he calls them the elven tribes, so it's going to that pointy-eared, sharp
Yeah,
teeth kind of thing, and that they actually started to chop their ears off so that they would kind of blend in, allegedly, apparently, whether
yeah.
that's true or not.
I believe
But
that.
Neil, I think, says, if I'm getting this right, but there's like dark elves and there's kind of good elves, but they're all, yeah, like say, not human. And I think the dark elves were in Scotland, whereas the good elves might have been in Ireland. I might just be making that up, so don't quote me, everybody.
Well,
Um, so
what we
exactly
understand is
what were
two
they,
of the nan.
these creatures like? Oh, the giraffe did an Anne, yeah.
Yeah, see the two of the nan, they actually come from Aberdeen.
Wow,
If
yeah.
you look at a map of Scotland way back, it's called Caledonia. The word cal is circle or core or cauldron or bowl, is the word cal, and Adonia is Adonai, God. So the word Scotland actually means the bowl of the gods. And
Wow.
the heavens verify it, because what we understand is the ecliptic is central Scotland, and all the houses move through the ecliptic. And above the ecliptic, above the bar, which I reference as the bar, above the bar, you have all the stories of the gods coming in. So central Scotland is, in fact, the Grampian Mountains and not the Cairngorm Mountains is Mount Olympus, looking down upon the Eridanus River. And the Eridanus River begins in Glasgow, Dumfries, and works its way all down the spine of Albion. So the gods actually came, and the Tuath Danann is the word dawn, the dawn, Aberdeen. The
Yeah.
Tuath Danann is the council of the Don, the River Don. So you've got the Doncaster. So the Tuath Danann came from the mountains of the Adonais, the Caledonian mountains. They came down, rebelled. They stole a chest, which is all in. It's all in the book. What's it called? The Enki and Allele, and they actually Tuath Danann stole a chest, and within the chest there were 4 items, including that was the Stone of Destiny, the Sword of Luag, the Spear of Destiny. There were 4 items and something else. These all represent Aaron's rod, and so on and so on, and it represents the ark. And they went to Ireland, and because Ireland became a separate island, broken away after the disaster. They brought the disaster, they brought the comments, they brought the rebellion. They were part of the Titans who rebelled, what we understand is, and they came from Aberdeen, from the house of Cygnus, the swan, and Cephas, the house of Cephas, and the Tuath Danann went to Ireland, and they convinced they chased away, I think it was the Malaysians, or they chased somebody away, and they convinced the Irish people that they were gods, but we're all gods. And for hundreds of years, the Tuath Danann were worshipped as Irish gods. And that is why the Stone of Destiny returned to Scotland. Because I have a lot of people on my Facebook saying, oh, but it was taken from Ireland originally. No, it wasn't. It was taken, it's a piece of granite that comes from the Cairngorm Mountains. The Stone of Destiny is granite that comes from Perthshire, just not far from Perthshire. Now, there's a lot of dispute, the real stone doesn't exist, it's been stolen, it's never been returned. But the original stone was black felt. It was a black rock with feldspar, and that's what the rocks in Aberdeenshire are.
And when you say that they come up, sorry, that they come up from underground like that, like they that they can't leave through Orion, like
yeah,
obviously they kind of, like you say, they I suppose Anunnaki means fallen to earth, doesn't it? So is it the Anunnaki from the Draco, and those fallen angels then fell to earth, and now they go underground, but they're trying to get out? Is that what the that bit
The
confuses me.
Anunnaki are only the sons of Anak.
Right.
The Bible talks about the sons of Anak. The Anunnaki were giants. They were Nephilim. They were angelic offspring, but they were only one sect. It's like there's different types, because they're angels that actually come from the heavens. Most of the ones that are controlling things come from Orion's belt and the Pleiades,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the Pleiades actually represent the seven chakras in our body.
yeah, yeah.
So the
And
seven
that's big.
chakras, they can control the central belt. Uh, this is so vast. Central Scotland, or the central belt, is Orion's belt, but it's projected 3 times down the UK, right?
Wow.
So London and the River Thames represents the river of life.
Yeah.
Thames, Thames. So, and then the Humber, which is just a small river now compared to what it used to be at Hull, that's the second river of life. And the third river of life is the Firth of Forth and the Clyde. Paul talked about I knew a man who was caught up into the third heaven. Right? He
Yeah.
says that in the New Testament. Well, the third heaven is the upper mind. Britain is the body. So the lower Thames is the lower cavity of the body. The middle
Yeah.
part is your man chest, air, liver, poo. It's your middle part of the body. And Ross, there's lots of Rosses. Ross means head. It's the very first word of the Bible. Bereshit bara Elohim,
And I
Ross,
think,
head.
like, it is that as above, so below thing, so within, so without. And I know I've said it on other podcasts because, like I say, I genuinely have been mentioning your name and going, we're going to get Steve and JTB on, because I was like genuinely excited because I just know that it just ties it all in together. It certainly does for me. And I think, yeah, this kind of idea that, like I say, with all it just all fits, doesn't it, with the land? So that the land is, I always said scripture was allegorical, astrotheological, and anatomical. And I know we
Yeah.
chatted about it. And one day I got like an epiphany. I thought, oh my God, it also happened, because that is, it's as it's in the skies, it's on the land.
Yeah.
It stood on the back of Titans, as Larry would say.
We
These
are on the
nests,
Titan.
yeah, the petrified Titans, don't they? They call it.
We're on Titans. We're living on Titans. The Isle of Atlantis.
Wow, I know, it's just
I
absolutely.
actually watched a video where you said that the island was Atlantis. No, you made a
Well,
distinction between Atlantis and Scotland, Ireland and Scotland. They were
yeah,
one land, and it's
that's one.
actually the body of it's one body of Adam.
Right,
It's the
okay.
body, or I don't know if it's Adam.
Yeah.
Whether it's Adam Hakadama, the first Adam. There was a first Adam who was a giant, and
Mm,
that Adam could be Hercules,
right.
who we understand as Hercules. And we could actually be living on the body of a being. Well, we're living on the body of a being. Everything about, the spine of Albion is, we're living on the body, a decayed, decomposing body of hundreds of giants. The
Wow.
central, the central part of Scotland, all the mountains, I believe are giants. Just as
Yeah.
you come out of Stirling, I don't know if you've ever been up to Stirling, but you go to Stirling, it's a
Yeah.
flat plain, which is the Megiddo Valley, the Battle of Armageddon. The Megiddo Valley is a flat plain just beyond Stirling, and then suddenly you hit these steep mountains, but some of them look like bodies, lots of them actually. And I believe the reason why Stirling is called Stirling is the star line, and it sits immediately under the Pleiades where the rebellion happened. So the first battle of Bannockburn, the Battle of Stirling that we are told in Scottish history, it
Yeah.
actually represents a more ancient battle between the angels on Earth and
Yeah.
the giants, what we call the Titans. The Titans were real, the giants were real,
Yeah.
but the gods were not real. These were just imaginations.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. And yeah.
we're the creators. We've created
Yeah.
the gods.
Yeah,
That's
and I
what's
think
happening
that's the bit everyone's kind of missing, isn't it? It's like
with the creators.
I mean, we were talking like with Tony Sayers about the chakras, and I sometimes get a bit giddy and get a bit carried away. But and I really don't know what to think about that. But I think we do have these light bodies, but I also think that they could be potentially hijacked, just as our consciousness has been hijacked, and we've all just kind of forgotten who we are, haven't we? It's like
We
Moldite.
have
And the land is us, isn't it? In the legal fiction, which is why they decapitate us. They want to remove
the
us
head.
from the land, which is our body.
Yeah,
But the land is also, we have the standing on the land, don't we, with the sole of the foot, like and the land is alive, and we're creating it, aren't we? It's like
yeah.
it's a symbiotic thing, and it's kind of really hard for us to kind of, it's like what in that film Lucy, we're trying to make the unfathomable, bring it down to a fathomable scale, and we've just got these kind of little pea brains, etc. But yeah, these, I watched a lot on the Petrified Titans, and it's just absolutely mind blowing. And if we can get back to this information, like the true information, like you say, we are the gods. We are. I believe that we are these,
We are
consciousnesses. The creator's experiencing it itself, through our individuated consciousnesses, and we are these sparks, which is why, they're trying to get us distracted by looking at, don't look here, look there, isn't it? It's like inversion,
I'm not,
perversion,
I'm not
subversion.
saying as well that gods don't exist, because we've looked at the stars, and people who have become powerful
Yeah,
have depicted themselves as gods, or put themselves in positions of gods.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but the thing is that when you wield power, you can do anything. If you've got millions of people following you, you can seem like a god. But and a lot of
100%.
these people, yeah, you can be perceived as a god. And you know, there is only one creator, and
Yeah.
we're all gods, and we're all reflections. And anything in history that we read about gods, they don't really exist. This is the imaginations of us. I
Yeah.
believe. I don't believe that they existed, and I don't believe that Satan exists either. I
No.
know I know actually Satan does not exist, and I've known that for years, because I knew that when I was in Judaism. Satan was an invention of the Christian Church, the Catholic Church, to
Yeah.
extract money from people. And the Satan is just the dark. You've got your right hemisphere and your left hemisphere, and the left hemisphere is the Hasatan, which is influenced by the energies of Sirius. Sir,
Right.
arise, sir. I want to be the one. I'm the sir. I'm the one. I'm the one. It's all
Yeah.
me. It's ego. That's
Yeah.
that's what and that's what Orion's all about. Orion's standing at Taurus field, the Taurus field. He's standing at Taurus the bull with a big club ready to smack him. And the club's called Beetlejuice. The star in the club's called Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. And he's hitting the two eyes of Taurus. One is called Ein Sof, which means the unknowable God, and the other one's called Ayin, which means the eye of God. This is the
Yeah.
eye of Horus, the eye of Ra, Taurus in the sky, the eye of Horus and the eye of Ra.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
horizon is where the sun goes up over the central belt, and over to the central belt of Scotland, all the standing stones over the central belt all map Orion. And Orion's the ego. You've got to get past the man with the club. It's a big club, but you're not part of it.
Like
You've
George
got,
Carlin.
yeah,
So
you've
is
got,
that why they can't get out, Stephen? Is that why
yeah, because
because
they've got the club
of
up.
ego and yeah, they can't get past that
Club
because they
represents the phallic symbol, the Phoenician phallic. It represents the fist, like God. It's, the Taurus, the bull. And I say this to people who are Taurians, just because I'm talking about the Taurus field in Taurus. That's what it projects from. It doesn't mean that you are. We all are the Taurus field.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
up there in central Scotland, over Glasgow, the hill, I can show you actually on Google Maps, the hill looks like maybe I can, the actual hill, it's known as the Campsie Hill. It's shaped like a bull,
Yeah.
because the Taurus constellation sits right above it, and they can't get past there into the upper chamber, or the upper room. The upper room is the Polaris at the very north of Scotland. There's a Pictish fort in a place called Huntly or Riney.
Yeah.
It's called Tap of the North, the hill, the mountain, Tap
Yeah.
of the North, Noth. That is the center of heaven. That's the center of the brain. The
Right.
fourth, which is down here, You've got the two horses, the Kelpies, which are on the first or fourth. There are two monuments, big steel monuments that have been erected. There's one horse looking up and one horse looking down. And this is in this bit of central Scotland. This is the hippocampus. The word hippo means horse. One
Uh,
horse looking up. The story of the Kelpies is they would take you down into the underworld or they would take you up into the upper world. A
yeah,
Kelpie was a mythical Celtic horse that sat on a waterway that took you between worlds. One
yeah,
one horse in central Scotland. There's big monuments in Scotland in the canal. I can show you pictures of that. One horse is looking up, one horse is looking down. This is the pineal. They're looking up into the pineal gland.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The canopy.
Canopy, which is up in the very north of Scotland.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like literally it's all happening at the same time, isn't it? Everything's happening all at once in a way, is it? Because it's like say it is anatomical, it is astrotheological, it is allegorical scripture, and like that was a book handed
And
to
it's
us
big
by
and mental. It's mental as
it
well. How
is.
can you keep track of it all?
Yeah,
This is what I find. Like I study, I've looked into so much, and I've got so much information. It's very difficult to.
yeah,
You need to give me about 4 or 5 hours because it's
easy.
very difficult. I haven't even went on to maps or the Stellarium software yet. But that's what I should do. Actually, I'll put
Yeah.
in. I've got my Google. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
No, not yet. You should if you press share screen, Stephen, it should come up because I changed the settings. So I mean,
Where
it's just it's all like the land is alive, the petrified titans, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, the Draco, the Anunnaki, all this stuff, all these things that we've been, that have been considered myths. You just really aren't, are they? They've just been distorted and inverted. The true,
it's all stories in the heavens. It's
yeah,
all stories in the heavens. Everything, all the stories of the gods. The mad thing is as well, right? See what we understand as Greece and all that over here.
yeah,
This isn't Greece at all. Scotland,
no,
the Western Isles is ancient Greece. Can you see
yeah,
this map now?
yes, I can see that
Can
now.
you see my screen now?
Yes. I was watching
Well,
your video, I watched a few of your videos, but that software with all the constellations of the animals in and you can maneuver it like that was really cool. And
can
I,
you
I
see
should
my
say to
screen
people,
now?
if you haven't checked Stephen's work out, he has got a YouTube channel. I'll link below, and you can follow him on Facebook, where that's where I follow a lot of his posts, and it really truly is mind blowing. It does take a little diligence, and do your homework, and just kind of let it sink in. Basically, it's my advice.
See this map, Callie? Am I
Yeah.
showing my? Am
Yes,
I
I can
showing?
see that.
Yeah, the map of Britain, yeah, with all the ley lines over it.
Yeah, that's right. I've got that.
I've got quite a bad connection. I keep losing the sound.
Not,
But basically, this is Google Earth Pro map.
yeah,
I have. I don't know if you realise, but um, around about 2019, I decided to go off grid, and I was off grid for about 4 years.
yeah,
And but I've got a place now. Uh, there's a lot of research that I was doing that I never had the technology. I was on the move all the time, so I didn't have the technology to put stuff together. Now I've actually settled in a place. I've been putting together for the last 6 months. I've got this new PC, and
yeah,
it's got all the software that I need. So everywhere that for the last 4.5 years, I've travelled mostly this area. Can you see this on the map? My
yeah,
mouse.
yeah,
I, I camped here for about 5 years, living off grid, 4.5 years or something, until I came here. And where I'm not going to say where I am just now, but where I am, I can monitor. Or for the last year and a half, nearly 2 years, I've been monitoring Arthur the Great Bear and the movements for 2 years of Arthur
yeah,
to try and verify everything that I talk about now. And it's
yeah,
verified. Uh,
yeah,
Arthur moves throughout Britain. He can be viewed in there's various places throughout Britain called Arthur's Seat and Arthur's Mound and Arthur's Cave and Wales and so on. And the reason why is because our ancestors looked up at the pole star and seen Arthur on certain hills, and they would have ceremonies on these hills or on these mounds, and put standing stones up basically. and record the heavens. And this map here that I've got here is all the ley lines that I've been working on so far. It's still a map in progress. But you
Yeah.
can see here this big pentagram. You see the big pentagram
Yes, yeah.
over Scotland?
Yes.
So these are the standing stones that are all aligned to each other. So you've got the standing stones at Kirkwall and the Ring of Brodgar,
Yeah.
and they're aligned to the Callanish stones in Lewis, where Trump's from, by the way, or is Trump's family.
Yeah, I love Lewis. Yeah. And
So
he's
these
they're related to each other, aren't they? Biden and Trump.
all
So
um, meet in the centre of a place called Loch Moy. And the Laird of Loch Moy built this castle in the middle of the water. Just a
yeah,
random tower thing in the middle of the water.
gotta
But
ask that.
all the standing stones of Scotland, the most important ones, make up that pentagram. And that pentagram represents, um, well, the pen to pen in, to hold in. The Bible talks about in that day when the troubles begin. I think it's in the book of Isaiah. I will open up the sheep pen, and in Arabic the word bozra, the word sheep pen. Well, this is the pen. It begins at the Pentland Hills down at the border, the Pentland
Yeah,
Hills, and it ends at Kirkwall. And this is the sheep pen or the sheepfold, And it says in the Bible is very true. It says in the Bible, in that day, I will open the sheepfold and everyone will come. And this is
yeah,
where they're coming to Scotland, to the sheep pen, to the sheep. And it's known as
oh,
Bos Ara. Bo, Bos, in Hebrew, Bo means to come.
yeah,
Bos Ara means sun, come light. So the word Bosra, we had a war in Iraq. They
yeah,
faked it and they bombed Bosra,
yeah,
a
yeah.
place. So they renamed it Bosra. Well, Bosra isn't a place. It means the sheep pen. It's an ancient word, probably Gaelic. But Scotland is the sheep pen, the pentagram, the original pentagon, because
So and
it
as
comes
well,
from the
like
word pen, drag.
do they obviously you've got that kind of pentagram symbol and they kind of like demonize pentagrams, don't they, and get us all where we're kind of not looking at it. I mean, what it was funny when I went to Scotland. I know I mentioned this to you before. I literally the first time I ever went into Scotland and drove over the border, I just went, oh my God, this has got to be the Holy Land, right? And that's what I said, and I had no idea then of the stuff I know now. So how did I know that? And then there was this, we were all talking that everybody needs, I don't know, I said there's something that's driving me that makes me want to go to Scotland. Like I've got, like I want to be there, like, and that's got to be some ancestral kind of, I don't know,
It's the
epigenetic kind
head.
of,
Scotland is the head. If we look at it's a body. If I took some of this away, in fact, this is the head, and the head was much larger.
yeah,
The head was much larger. This is the stomach, and this here, the spine. If I went on to let me show. I usually use this. Uh,
yeah.
oh, how do I move that? I'm going to show. I'm going to go on a topography map of Britain. I don't know if you've ever seen a topography map. It basically shows you the water levels.
Yeah.
Um, my computer is really slow. It's not.
Because because I suppose like say they tell us that Israel is over there, like obviously in the Middle East, etc. and so on. But Israel really is this land, isn't it? Albion obviously meaning land of the giants, doesn't it? I mean, I always say it's in the language, and I know you're big, you've studied Aramaic, Hebrew, all kinds of things. It's like what we were saying about the word religion. You don't need to know anything more about what religion's about because the word itself means to thwart, to bind, to hold back, to confine, from the Latin. So it's kind of like it's telling you this place, whatever it is telling you what
Also,
it is. Mm, mm,
it's also a legal term as well. To bind up legal
yeah. And is
religion
that
is.
Do you
So they
think that, that's what it's about, like kind of this lution of our energy or this hijack of our consciousness? Because what do you think about, obviously we know about the land kind of being in this symbiotic kind of relationship with us and the stars and the etc. But do you think that, because a lot of people say like it's a soul trap or there's somewhere to get out of, but I think it's more about returning back to. Like more like I don't think there's anywhere to get out of, because we would have had more like a more magical kind of constitution, wouldn't we? The veil would have been thinner, or it's like we would have had more mystical, magical, kind of interdimensional portal type thing. Is that what these star forts are, etc.? Would these fallen angels have come, through kind of portals, etc., and fallen to Earth, just as we would have perhaps been able to maneuver through these star forts back then because we had that knowledge or that's been lost? How do you think that works? If that
the
makes
Star
any
Wars,
sense.
I've been mapping Star Wars for years, and the Star Wars are what they are. They're matched to the stars above. So, like Aberdeen, where I originally from, the city of Aberdeen has 7 hills, and each of those 7 hills are 7 star forts. But in the House of Cephas, which sits over Aberdeen, there are 7 main stars. So each of
Yeah,
the hills stars. Um, a star fort, everywhere star forts, every city, every town. What I don't know if you've looked at my page in that regard, but what I believe or what I think I've discovered is the earth is water, and out of the water came star forts representing the heavens above. And
yeah,
that was the only earth we had. And then the Titan episode came along. There was a war between the giants and these things, and the flood, or Coleman's Beaumont talks about a great catastrophe happening, and meteors came down. And those meteors are the physical stars or angels in heaven being cast out. And it destroyed the body of man. And this, I don't know if you can see this map here. This is the topography map. When you look at a normal Google map, this area is all white, the sea, and it's kind of weird. You kind of see it on a normal Google map. But on this
yeah,
topography map, they have this strange outline like a head
yeah, yeah,
over Britain. And this is what I believe. I believe this is the head and the body, and it is the body of a giant,
yeah, yeah,
Atlantis, Albion.
yeah. So
It is, you know, Atlas, the god Atlas sits here over. Atlas holds up the weight of the world. And
yeah,
the story of Atlas, he sits at Hadrian's Wall. That's what I've found. This is the part in your bone, it's called the Atlas bone. And then you've
yeah,
got the Axis bone. So Atlas and Axis are 2 bones that sit next to each other. And this central part here in Scotland, you've got 7 hills down here as well. And those 7 hills represent the 7 bones here that allow
yeah,
your neck to turn. I can't remember the name of them now. But this northeast of Scotland, every part of this represents the human brain. This here, up here, is the house of Cephas in the heavens, and Cygnus is one that sits over here. But this part, Cephas, is deep intellect. Cephas represents the seat of dark, deep thought, like
mm,
deep reflection. Because here in Aberdeen, this area to the ancient ones, it was known as the Abzu, the Cairngorms, where Queen Elizabeth went, Balmoral. This was known as the Abzu, the primordial deep, the underworld, where the waters of the underworld came up. The earth was water, and the earth was brought up in star forts, but there was a primordial underworld, and the Greeks called it the Delphi, the Oracle of the Delphi.
yeah,
And Ballater, Aboyne, Afford, Aberdeen, that area, Balmoral, that is the Abzu. The Sumerians called it the Abzu. The Egyptians called it Cheops. In fact, one of the pyramids in Giza is called Cheops. The
yeah,
Cheops, primordial deep, where they came from. They came up from the primordial deep. Now, strangely enough, the airport code for Aberdeen Airport is ABZ,
yeah.
Abzu.
Oh, right, yeah,
When I was talking earlier on about the Tuatha De Nan, they came from here. they came out of the Abzu, right? And they stole the chest of treasure, on, and they went to Ireland. It was from this area the Tuath Danann came as well. So the mysteries of the deep come from the deep of the waters of the deep. And this is why the Queen goes to Balmoral all the time.
Yeah,
But
because
this is the deep process part of the head. Thought is, it's this part of the, I can't remember what you call it. It's called the amygdala, and above it, the neocortex, the matrix, the cortex is where the deep intellect and the deep thought, and that is, this is what Scotland represents. Huh?
The neocortex, yeah.
Because
I was watching.
My computer is really.
Because I suppose,
I'm
like
losing your sound. I can't hear you.
Oh, can
so,
you hear me now?
Right.
So,
can you see this?
Yes.
Right. This is everything we're talking about. We've been all over the place. We really have been all over the place. I want to show you some of the stuff that I've been talking about here. Now, my mouse is wobbly. Right, see if I can straighten it. Right.
Because I think we live on an eyeball or in an eyeball. I think the eyeball is the eyeball with the torus field, and it's got like a lens, and it's like we're in the eye of God, I think, but maybe not.
Right. So let's see. Back to Britain. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hadrian's Wall sits here. Okay. Roughly. Right. Now look at all those ley lines up there. This red line here is the spine of Albion, beginning in the Isle of Wight, and that's the central branch of the tree of life. When you get to here, it changes. This lower part of England becomes the tree of the underworld, and the tree of life projects here. Now, I can show this in the heavens because Orion's belt, which is this area here, this area is central Scotland. This here is the Cairngorm Mountains, and this is very north of Scotland. Up here, it's called the North Celestial Pole, NCP. Can you see that?
Yeah. That
there is the tree of life. That is the Caledonia, the circle of the gods.
Yeah.
Caledonia, cauldron of the gods. It's the bowl of heaven, and that is the gate of heaven. This here I'm looking at is this is the age of Gemini. See down here in the bottom, the date and time, but down here.
Yeah.
6606.
I'm a Gemini.
See the number 666.
Yeah.
This is minus 666. Right? And Cephas is sitting at the center of heaven. The house of resurrection is sitting on the tree. Eternal life. This is the tree of life. This here, the ecliptic, is the border between this orange line, is the central part of Scotland. This below was the Argus Navi, the ship, and all the instruments of masonry, measurements, and all that. This is below the ecliptic. This is the tree of good and evil. The tree of life, north, and the tree of good and evil. Materialism, wealth, and fame, and everything that London offer, and they sit down here with the pelican. Oh, sorry. They sit down here with the peacock above the door. See the peacock? Down the street has a peacock above the door. See if you look at the door, CBN News, NBC News, they all have the peacock.
Oh, right. Yeah, they do.
That symbol of the underworld, the bird of the an illusion with all the eyes. Now, this ecliptic is central Scotland, and this here is northern Scotland. And this is 8,000 years ago. The Aleph, Bet, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, A, B, C, D. As we go through the ages, we actually go through the letters of the alphabet.
Wow.
And there's only A to I. No other alphabet exists. It's only A to I. So there's only 9 ages so far, 9 ages. So
Yeah.
Libra, Leo, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, and now Aquarius. We're in that ninth age, the final age. And as we go through the ages, let me see if I can. There's that. There's my little.
And what is the point of the ages? I always call it the zodiacal wheel of time. Like, we move through these kind of ages and then they kind of worship time, don't they? Because do you think, Stephen, that I always say this, and whether this is true or not, like how the Tuatha De Danann perceived as gods, or they went to Ireland to be perceived as gods. I suppose do they? I have this theory that maybe they kind of transport their consciousness through time to be perceived as gods, like so that they put their consciousness maybe into different avatars and they kind of live forever down here, like they don't die in a way, and that they view all this, they've got all this occult hidden knowledge, well, like you say, probably forgot a lot of it themselves in a way, but that they view it as like sky people from above almost, but then they also go underground as well, hence Paul Weller apparently is of the Tuatha De Danann, the Jam, the Justified and Ancients of Mu Mu, as Neil would say. So he's going, I'm going underground, and that they go underground and they resurface depending on what cataclysms are coming, and they know how to predict all this. Or have I
Well,
just
the
talked
reason
a lot of nonsense?
why the cataclysm happens is because every 2,160 years we come into a new age. And there's a lot of dispute over the time period. Is it 2,160 years? Just now,
Yeah,
as of March 2024, I believe we were into the time of Aquarius because the vernal equinox, Aquarius is sitting just on the vernal equinox, sort of
yeah,
to the and there are people saying, no, the age of Aquarius doesn't happen to 2035. Well, come on. You're talking 2,160 years, 5 or 10 years, 11 years, the difference isn't much. Why are we arguing over whether the time of Aquarius is here or not? But
yeah,
what happens is they know when the new age comes that as the new age comes, Sirius also moves in with that time of the ages. So the ages are always around about 2,160 years. And I've got a plan anyway. I've written it here. I was planning to run through, where is that? I was planning to run through all that. I've got diagrams and pictures which I've sent me to
yeah,
show you the age, to show you what sits at the centre. That's what I'm hoping to do because Cephas is sitting at the centre there. And they each have these gods or these houses each have a seat on the throne as such for a period of time. They rule, and the houses they rule over, well, they're the gods. They are the gods, and there are only 7 of them up there, just like you got the 7 branches in the menorah and the Jewish
yeah,
candle. That's the tree, and with the 7 gods, you've got 7 planets, 7 gods. These planets actually fell. The book of New Testament tells you that they kept not their first abode, but they changed direction. So the 7 planets, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, they rebelled from the 7 in the North Celestial Pole on the Tree of Life. They rebelled. We think it's just the devil or Satan or an evil, but there's multiple gods. They're not gods, they're energies.
mm,
They're
mm.
energies which we create.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So I suppose, like, is it do we
complex.
are they because obviously they often get called the planets, like wanderers, like you say, or they're archetypes almost, like you say, that we
We
create,
honor
that
them.
we also embody at the same time.
We honor them and bring them into being.
Yeah,
What Genesis 1 tells us, when you read the Hebrew of Genesis 1, what Genesis 1 tells you is that we are the Elohim and that we are the creators. We are the heads of the body and we create this realm. Genesis 2 is a different God. Genesis 3 is a different God. Uh, Genesis 1, God returns in Genesis chapter 5. So we're reading about different gods. And what we understand is the Bible is an emergence of different gods and ideals, Sumerian, Babylonian, and these lands, Babylonian, Sumerian, Akkadian, The Sumer Isles in the west coast of Scotland was the original Babylon. Babylon was destroyed by the disaster. They moved south into the tree of good and evil, moved south, and they set up the new Babylon, which was York. But these Genesis 1 tells us that we are the gods, and these beings who were worshipped as gods, as kings, as these great leaders, we created them as gods.
Yeah.
They weren't gods. All they've done is they harnessed the energy. Now, what Neil talks about is Sirius coming in. I haven't looked at the mathematics of when Sirius comes in, but I know it runs along with the age, the new age, every new age that comes along. So Sirius is about 2,000 years. He goes away and then comes back again or something like that. And but every time there's an age, the energy of Sirius is amplified, and the energy of Sirius brings evil. Nothing is evil, actually. They're creating evil by not allowing people to rise up out of their lower base and desires.
And that's that lizard. Is that where that lizard thing kind of comes in? Because this was a really interesting question. Because I watched a good video by the Revival of Wisdom guy, like Morpeth, he might come on the show. But he was saying about that, and I've obviously I've read it before, that the lower lizard kind of reptilian brain is obviously, that's those lower frequencies, and they're trying to keep us in, fear states, survival modes, all the other stuff. And that's that's represented by that reptilian lower brain. But do you think that actually, with the Draco and, the Canis Major and all these, and the Trathetidanan and all that kind of stuff, I actually think it probably is both again. Like, so that actually, yes, it is within us, but it's also, we then create it. So these people perhaps are shape-shifting, interdimensional shape-shifting lizards, these bloodlines and families like.
This image here, like the very top, the North Celestial Pole is the upper mind. This here is your nominal mind, the middle, which is known as the ecliptic.
Yeah,
this is the on the level. Everything's on the level, just normal, as we call it, on the level, being straight.
Yeah, on the level. So, and all these kind of terms, like, when I hear you talking, like, just all
this here, lower mind, or the reptilian mind, the South Celestial Pole, North, South, and the middle. Your compass is your compass. So what we are seeing in the heavens is the tree of life, which is the North Celestial Pole up here. I'm not going to move it because I keep losing sound every time I move the cursor. This here is where the houses come through, known as the ecliptic, which never changes. And this here changes all the time. And this only changes every 2,160 years.
Yeah.
So ample enough time to work out where you are in the whole system. But this is the upper mind, the lower mind, and the reptilian mind.
Yeah. So this again, it's represented in the stars as we experience it down here again, isn't it?
See all the dogs? See the dogs there?
The dogs, yeah, the dog star. Mm.
See, no, that's Canis Major and Canis. See, there's lupus, which represents Sirius energy. And this here is another little dog called Proton, right? So you've got dogs. This is the land of Canaan, the lower mind, Canaanite worship of base self.
Yeah.
The upper mind, worshipping the tree, not worshipping the tree, not worshipping anything, finding self, the gate. This is the gateway to heaven. This is the gateway to.
Because they like you say, they aren't in kind of service to others. I mean, you've got to love self first, as it says in the law of one, and then give that out to others. But they're just obviously that's that egoic lower mind, me, that rise of narcissism, that psychopathy that we kind of see out there at the moment. Psychopathy, narcissism.
See the problem that we are facing just now. Everybody thinks they know it, and everybody they're sharing stuff. But for a while there, people were hammering anybody who's to do with ego. Ego, you've got an ego, he's got an ego, she's got an ego. You know what? We cannot create. I know the Christ oil is inside us, right? And it's created by melatonin and serotonin. Serotonin and melatonin are created by your ego and by sleep, right? Yeah. So your liveliness, your ups and downs. We need an, and you have to have to sacrifice the ego in the celestial cross, take up your cross daily. And this is what the houses are here. You take up your cross daily. So you're born, whatever, you said you were a Gemini. Yeah? So there's you, Gemini. You need to walk through this daily. This is you taking up your cross, Gemini's around here.
Yeah. And that
So
is so
this,
you need your ego for, like you say, and actually melatonin is more worth more to those elites, those elven families than adrenochrome itself. Did I say that? Beep. But again, and it's like, say, we need it, but then you've got to take up the cross and lose the ego at the same time, is it? That's the game, is it?
the adrenochrome.
Well,
There's a nightmare
like
sometimes.
Androm I think you said about Andromedus, didn't you? I think it links to.
Yeah, it links to Andromeda up here. There's Andromeda there. The
So Stephen,
story
like if we all get to the higher mind and we kind of defeat, all the tricks and traps and whatnot, trying to keep us down, keep us down. What does that mean? Do you believe in like a collective kind of,
yeah,
awakening or
yes. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's out there is just nonsense. People are chasing so much nonsense. And they, the ones who are ruling this, the thing is, like, there was a confusion. Let's just get this right. In my mind, back in 2014, 2017, there was a confusion to who these people were.
yeah,
Right? But they all come from Draco. They all are descendants from Draco, the Draco bloodline. And the Draco is being chased out of this North Celestial Pole at the moment. They're not being knocked out. And the people are rising up.
yeah,
Now, who are they? This is the question. I thought there were reptiles. I thought there were demonic entities. There were maybe the gods, the ancient gods. And I think there are. There are ancient beings who have managed to sustain life or remain alive by taking bodies because they know the key to life. They know the
yeah.
House of Revel. They know it all. That's why they're in Balmoral. That's why they go to Balmoral. There's some sort of ceremonies that go on there in order to give them extra life, or they go into another body.
That's what
Uh,
I think. That's what I think. And that's very independent of me reading your stuff. I've thought that for quite a long time. Hence why they worship time as well, isn't it?
but
And that's it. And they worship Saturn because it represents pain, death, suffering, although the perverse elements of Saturn anyway, at least.
they are the same as us.
Yeah.
Are the Elohim?
They are
We
the
are.
same.
We are all the Elohim. This is what they have tricked us into thinking that we are humans. You go to court. This is when the law comes in as well. You go to court and you exercise your human rights. They'll give you your human rights because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
part of it. A
Of course.
human
I always say that, yeah, because we
out of
can't confer a right on another anyway. And human means, well, as we know, it means quite a lot of things, doesn't it? But like you said, we're lowering our status again, aren't we, to humans?
human comes from the earth. A hue is a saturation, a color, a pigment. The earth gave us, we are spirit, we are Elohim, we are spirit. You can't be spiritual, we are spirit. We are
Yeah,
all God. They are gods, we are gods. The thing that they've done is they've tricked us into believing that we are humans and that we are commoners and mere mortals under common law.
yeah, yeah,
No, we are the council of the Elohim. Genesis 1 tells us, Psalm 82 tells us, are you not the counsel of the gods? Therefore, since you will not live like gods, I shall make you live like men, and you shall die like men. That's what it tells us, because we do not recognize that we are gods. So this is where religion comes in, because if they can keep us limited, sinful, humans, despicable beings, then we
yeah,
can't become gods. They're no
yeah,
different. We are gods,
yeah,
and we live forever.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
we can live forever.
yeah,
You know, telomere, the bit inside your DNA that writes, all they've done is they've cut it by poisoning us. But your telomere is winding, it's a winding spiral, and it repairs itself over and over and over and over. But
Yeah.
they've Yud-Hey Vav-Hey is not God. Yud-Hey Vav-Hey is their God.
Yeah.
Their God is Sirius and other dark energies, Saturn, Pluto, Mars, the planets that wandered. That's where they get their energies from. We, on the other hand, are told to take our energy from the tree of life. And this is the seven asterisks that are in the North Celestial Pole, which we should actually maybe go to, because
Yeah, it's just like I
uh,
say, it's just absolutely, it just ties everything in, doesn't it? You know, in and it just makes so much sense. I mean, I always say, Stephen, right now, whether I've lost the plot, who knows? Like, you know, you decide. But that I know that I'm Elohim. I actually even had this feeling like, hang on a minute, these are my family. Like for, you know, like even going back like, you know, thousands of years or something. I just remember them. Like, why do you think is it just that some of us are remembering and others aren't? Just the level of sheer brainwashing and programming, or
brainwashing.
yeah,
The disaster, I think there's been multiple disasters and floods and catastrophes upon the earth. But when what we understand is the Diluvian flood, the great flood of Noah, everything was lost. Most of consciousness and awareness was lost. We migrated to the Mediterranean area, and then we made our way back again, beginning to remember. And what we understand is the Pictish, the Welsh, the Celtic, the Gallic people, they managed to retain the knowledge. And when we
yeah,
come to the time of Babylon, uh, Alexander the Great, who was a Scottish, Alexander the Greek was actually Scottish. When you get to that time, they're actually trying to restore the truth back
yeah,
again. But somewhere in the Dark Ages, when another disaster came upon us, um, they managed to take over again and plant religion in. And religion isn't as old as we think. It probably only came around just before what we understand as the Renaissance, the 1400s. What
yeah,
existed before religion was Romanism. Uh, we have now labelled it as the Catholic Church, but no, Constantine's Romanism existed right through to the Dark Ages, right through to the 1200s. And then we have organized religion, really, in
yeah,
the 1200s. People dispute that and say, no, Islam goes back to the 6th century. No, it doesn't. It all comes back. It's all the religions are the same stories in the heavens. They're
yeah,
just
yeah,
the that happens. Every religion, the Voodoo, all of it is just the story of the tree and the canopy in the heaven. But somewhere in the 11, 12, 13, and when they gave us books, 1400s, they were able to manipulate us and tear us away from this knowledge that we are the gods.
yeah,
Jesus,
yeah,
well, Jesus says, have I not said that you are gods? Does it not say that you are gods? And he's quoting Psalm 82. Then he goes on to say other things like, no, these things that I do, why are you alarmed at this? Why are you surprised? These things that I do, you can do better. You can do greater than this.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
that doesn't sound like God speaking.
No,
It is God. It's God
yeah,
speaking to man, who I believe Jesus did exist, but he was a druid priest connected to Arthur in the whole Arthurian legend, and Arthur the pen in heaven, the pen dragon, the pen in heaven that we see
Arthur
with Arthur.
Dragon.
The reason why it's called Pendragon is because Draco's in there, and the map of Scotland I showed you with the pen and all this. No, that's the sheep pen, and Arthur
Yeah,
the baby
oh
is
God,
right in the
yeah.
middle, fighting the dragon, and Hercules is actually standing. Let me show you something, just
Yeah.
as a shocker. Let me show you something as a shocker. You might look at the right.
Well, and it's like what Neil says about, you talk about kind of, the religions and you talk about, the Muslims, etc. Ramadan means the mother of Dan, the mother of the tribe of Dan. They're all constructs, aren't they? Like say that system just it wants to confine, constrict, constitution. Like you say, Stephen, the common law, common just means to obligate, to burden. It's all the systems and just fencing us in and boxing us in, those Saturnian
We
box, 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 box.
completely walk away from it, go within ourselves. I thought you actually knew about the Kundalini and the chakras and all that, because these are the spine of Albion represents the Kundalini and the chakras, and
Yeah.
the 30 points, sacred points. There are 22 sacred points on the spine of Albion in England, and there are 11 sacred points in Scotland, and these are all chakra points. But right here,
Yeah.
this map, this is a photo image here. I was recently up in Inverness. This is up in Inverness. You can see Inverness down here. This is the Dornoch Firth up here. But
Yeah.
this here is all the standing stones that I visited.
Yeah.
And all these standing stones make up the shape of Hercules. And
Yeah.
these legs make up the shape of the land, even. And his arm makes up the shape of the land. And all these standing stones, there's a standing stone there known as the Cadbo stone. And I think it's in amongst these pictures. The Cadbo stone, let's see.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
This is known as the Cadbo stone. The word cad or cal, cat, meaning cat,
Yeah.
bowl, the bowl, the bowl,
Yeah.
called the bowl of. And this is a picture of Hercules on a Pictish standing stone wrestling the Nemean lion. What's that doing in Scotland?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of many stones. The story of Hercules isn't a Greek story. If you go to Greece and you put in on Stellarium map and you put in
Yeah.
Greece, Athens, you look at the sky, you can't see any of the North Pole, the North Celestial Pole. So the stories didn't originate in Athens and Greece today. They originated in Scotland, and they're marked on stones. This is the Greek story of the trials of Hercules, and he's slaying the Nemean lion. And
Yeah.
on the other stone, this here, these dragons are the serpent energies, and this here's the cross, which is the spine of Albion, showing you the way up, the chevrons, which we have in roads everywhere.
Yeah.
That's the sign. You must go this way, go up, up, up. And this is the knot of heaven, or the Masonic squaring the circle. This is the square of heaven. And Hercules is up there wrestling the lion. But not just that. Let me show you. Have I got them? Let me show you. Hercules today, if I was to show you, Hercules today is jumping on Draco right now. He up there, you look in the sky, he's
Wow.
smashing the head of Draco. Hercules is the son of God. That represents you and
Wow.
me, right? So
So, I mean, so
Hercules was there,
that's like huge,
and
then, isn't it? So if that's happening up in the sky now, that's
George and
down here now because we're
see
we're waiting and we're smashing the crap out of it. Hurrah!
that there. See the dragon's head.
Yes. Yes.
See the
Yeah.
dragon.
Looks like
The
it's
dragon's
smile.
body goes all
Yeah.
the way down through Scotland, through these wooded
Wow.
areas. It goes. Actually, hold on. Let me show you. I've already done this.
Well,
Why
and
am I
I
doing
know
this?
I know you say, Stephen, don't you? Like with
Draco.
Arthur the Bear and the Pendragon, etc. You know, our Father who art in heaven, isn't it? It's like
Yes.
linked, obviously, to the
Art is the Gaelic word or the Welsh word. So you see this light. This has appeared here. See this? I'll
yes,
flip
yeah.
it on and off again. See the Draco? See it? See the
Oh, wow.
overlay that I've got on
Oh,
there?
right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So there's the dragon's head,
yeah,
right? Our ancestors left it for us, left everything for us in stone. On all these, there's Hercules jumping on the dragon. Hercules on now, take him away. So this is
yeah.
Invergordon, Dingwall. What's her name? Madonna got married at Dornoch Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? Or Richie or whatever his name is. Madonna married at Dornoch
Yeah,
Cathedral. Dornoch Cathedral aligns with um, the spine of Albion, more or less. But
yeah,
here, this is an army base, or Fort George, it's known as. And the reason why it's called Fort George is George and the Dragon.
Yeah.
Here, before the flood, before the disaster, this sea was known as the George's Channel.
Yeah.
And St. George or Hercules slaying represents George and the dragon. Hercules is you. George is you. George's cross. Yeah. Yes, George is very angry and he should be jumping on the dragon. But it's mapped out. Our ancestors showed us that the great dragon, and the great dragon goes along from Ardressier or Fort George to Nairn, Forres, Banbride, Port Soy, Banff, which is the ancient kingdom where Malcolm Cameron ruled from, the Draco blood, Huntly, which Tap of the North is right here, Huntly. Well, actually, Tap of the North is the centre where Arthur the Great Bear is right here. And it's all marked in standing stones too. This is the amazing thing. And the Draco speaks all the way around, you can see, into Pitlochry, Aviemore, Pitlochry. Sorry, I missed that. And the dragon is the biggest constellation in the Northern Hemisphere. And its tail, as the New Testament Revelation says, it swept a third of the angels out of heaven. So these angels that were over this area were knocked out of heaven. And those angels fell. They took a third of the angels with them, it tells us. Well, Draco is the one. Like, I know Neil does a lot of work on Sirius. Sirius is not the devil. There is no devil.
Yeah.
Sirius is the energy that allows them to be evil or to bring into our consciousness.
Yeah, I think Neil would agree with you on that, to be honest. Like, as that it is an energy that they are like just worshipping.
Well, I'm not saying that he said he was a devil. I'm just, but I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, Sirius is a devil now." No.
Well, it's that thing, Stephen, isn't it? It's like we're always like that, and that's a big part of religion, isn't it? That victim savior template, because they want us to think that the power is outside of us. That they know that when we wake up to who we are, know thyself, for those that have eyes to see and those that have ears to hear, etc., then it's game over for them. Because like you said, that we are them. And we tend to say things like, they're doing this, it's them, it's they. And I go, do you know who they are? We've got to kind of work that one out, haven't we? But these elven tribes, etc. So would you say you're saying that we are them? We are all that kind of bloodline, really? Because if you're white skinned and you're blue eyed and you're blonde haired, you're Aryan or Aryan, aren't you? You're of that Nephilim line, aren't you, really?
I am. Yeah, no, as I've been on, I've discovered that they're exactly the same as us. We are them. We're the same. We're the Elohim. But they stay down here in this lower realm. See this central part where Orion passes through central Scotland? They stay down in the lower. And they try to... All materialism comes from London Stock Exchange. Everything comes from the stock down here in the lower world. Everything that we chase, whether it's the car, the new phone, it all comes through this stock exchange, the beast system that sits at the bottom of the underworld.
So it is, as we know, like it's like it is about giving up consumerism, be of the world, not in it, isn't it? What is the goal for us to kind of, because again, it's this idea that we've got to get out to somebody, but it's more that it's getting back to in it, and it's like removing ourselves from that kind of hijacked timeline and all that nonsense that's pressing onto us.
Getting back to nature and back to roots and back to self-sufficiency and doing things yourself. I mean, I've been trying to build a community for a few years and just nobody wants to move. And the reason why...
I'm coming.
They're all stuck in the lower realms, though. Everybody's chasing something. Even me, I chase stuff. This world that just you get hooked at and you think, I need to have that. I need to go. So you're pulling yourself back into that world. And it is impossible to detach from it because, we've been brought up in it. It's impossible to detach from anything.
Do you think there is a reincarnational trap, Stephen? Like, because obviously one of the big things is...
It's a trap. I was hoping to show that today as well. It is a trap. The journey that we take is we have to get through Orion's belt. See, every day, by the end of every day, you should be contemplating within yourself, the good things and the ego and all the things that you have, but also the humility. Or as the day comes in and the cool of the day, the Bible talks about, and the voice of God walked in the garden in the cool of the day. And the voice of God is Yud He Vav He. It's not God, it's another God. But that time of day is when the busyness of the days would pass, and you sit from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, you sit and contemplate what you've done that day, and then you begin to rest. Now, we should realize that we should be humbled as we move into it, and no disputes with anyone. Don't let the sun go down in your anger, as the Bible says. And we should be in that place of upper consciousness, but they always keep us in limbo and here in this lower, chasing things of the world.
So if we raise to this higher consciousness, Stephen, you think that I mean, like I say, I don't think we get out, do we? But it's kind of going back to our I call it like a true Edenic state, like, going back to the Garden of Eden, really, I suppose, symbolically, maybe.
Ask about reincarnation or being looped, because I think that's a subject. A lot of people ask me that on my page, and I don't believe that we are meant to reincarnate. It's a one-time journey. Every day we take this journey through, through the spine. We arrive on the Isle of Light, purified, and the Kundalini energies move up, red and blue, red, white, and blue, and the spine of Albion's the red line here, but it's the white path. It's the white path in the Kundalini energy. You've got red and blue. You've got the War of the Roses. One side of the country was blue, one side of the country was red. The blue rose, the red rose. So the blue and the red is the Kundalini energy that moves up. And when we rise in the morning, you should be at whole with yourself or at one with yourself from the previous day. But they have us chasing, never at peace. And the energy should rise up your spine. And the constellations move over over Britain and over us and interact with us. And as they are moving over your house and over you, that energies rise up or go down, depending on how you're feeling. And we have to know that this tree of life was the symbol to the whole world. And this spine of Albion was the Kundalini energy that, the source of energy that's within us all, that begins down in the lower gut and works its way through the 7 guts, the 7 gods, up into the higher consciousness. And that higher consciousness is the pine cone or the thistle or the milk thistle, the milk and honey. Scotland is the thistle, the pine cone. If you go to the Vatican Square is a big thistle that's shaped like a thistle, because the pine cone and the milk of the pine cone, which is really good for you, the Scottish thistle, the milk or the juice is really healthy for you. But and our ancestors drank that as well. But if you look at the Vatican St. Peter's Square, it's shaped like the thistle, and the thistle is representative of Scotland. The head, the purple, and the crown upon the head. In fact, next to Hercules up here, right there, is the crown, the corona. I haven't got it on this map, but the word corona, where all this started for most people, is here, sitting here. And Hercules, I'll put him back on again. I haven't actually got the corona on this map, but Hercules is trying to grab the crown. You and I, Elohim, the first God, the first Son of God, like Genesis 3:16, and not Genesis, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall have eternal life. What's that all about? Eternal Son, the only begotten Son. Hercules is the only begotten son of the gods. There's more sons. He was the original son of Zeus. He is the only begotten son. And it says in Genesis 3:16, and he shall stamp on the head of the serpent. His blood shall be against your blood, or his seed against your seed. Hercules represents us. God became man. Where God became man. Or became beings, physical beings, just as the story of Hercules became a physical being. What did Hercules have to do? He had 12 trials, 12 labors of Hercules. These are the 12 houses. He actually ends up with 13 because he gets deceived and he ends up doing 13 trials. These are the 13 houses that pass through us. You are Hercules standing on the beast in the tree, the Draco, the serpent.
Yeah.
You're here to crush. And when we look at this, I'm not going to look at it now, but if we look at the Stellarium map and I was to put in dates going back to, as that little diagram showed you, if I go back to minus 5246 BC, the age of Libra, you've got Hercules right in the middle. And then by the time we get to Aquarius, Draco's in the middle, pushed Hercules out. But now we're in Aquarius, Hercules is back in, jumping on Draco. So that's where we're at, with the battle of being expelled from the garden of man, Adam and Eve, happened in the time of Gemini. Gemini represents Adam and Eve, the two. So in the time of, which is the year 600 or 6606, the number of man, the number of the man. So in the age of Gemini, the age of Gemini, Hercules was pushed out the garden. Man, Adam and Eve, Gemini, were pushed out the garden. Yeah. By the time we get to equate Pisces, we're back in the garden, but the dragon's still there, and we're fighting the dragon, but now Hercules is back. And this is where self-consciousness and collective consciousness comes in, that we're in, the tree of life is at the North Pole, the North Celestial Pole, and this is where we all have to be. We have to step back into the role of Hercules to stand on the dragon, to step on the beast system, which is the legal system as well, which is taking a third of with them. So there's not just Draco, there's a third of the angels also in rebellion.
Yeah. So the third of the angels are still rebellion. What about the other 2/3? Are they good ones then? Is that us?
That's us.
Yeah.
And the Book of Revelation talks about, and I seen the throne, and under the throne, this is the throne of heaven. Cephas sat on the throne, and under the throne I seen the holy ones saying, "How long, O Lord? How long?" That's us. We're under the throne saying, "How long? How long? Do you know how long?" Until everybody comes in. That's what the Book of Revelation tells you. Until the number comes in. Until everybody wakens up.
It's just that kind of consciousness tip again, isn't it? That quantum monkey consciousness tip.
This is why I continue what I'm doing, Callie, because I do this for my girls. The system came against me and took my girls away from me because of the thing I'm talking about. I didn't really want to speak about that, but I have to because that's part of what I do. I do this because I want my children not just my children, everybody that I know and love, everybody that I've met on this journey, amazing people. I want them to know the religions to begin with are all based on this. And not just, but everything, the law, the politics, it's all based on this movement of the heavens and the precession of the equinoxes. And the whole Bible story is all this, the virgin birth of Virgo, Leo, the Lion of Judah, Cancer. I mean, this celestial or the equator, this is the center part of heaven. Scorpio represents the tree of life of good and evil with the sting in its tail. Now, that doesn't mean if anybody's a Scorpio, that's what I'm saying. But to the ancient Scorpio, you see Sagittarius is firing an arrow at him. Scorpio is the beginning of the evil inclination falling down into the underworld. Scorpio has the sting in its tail, but it also has the claws hanging on, reaching up. And then you have Libra, which is the Egyptian scales, blue feather, red feather, which we just talked about the red energy. So you have the Egyptian scales. And this is us taking up our cross daily. The Virgo, born in you. Leo become the conquering lion. Cancer is the gates of Freemasonry, black and white, Cancer, 69. That's the centre pole. Immediately below the centre pole is the Ark of Heaven, of citizenship.
Yeah. And do you obviously, because we're kind of in this kind of spiritual battle as we're all perceiving it on the ground. I suppose, this knowledge of the heavens that they have. Obviously the fact that Egypt wasn't actually a place particularly, but like you said, it was a mystery school of sorts, and that after like Neil would say that after the cataclysm, after the big flood, that the knowledge actually went from west to east, not east to west, and that it was actually these tribes, these seafaring tribes that went and kind of spread the knowledge back kind of all over that world. But they're trying to make us like, look at Egypt, look at Israel, which is just the state of Israel. It's just a military arm, and think that it's all over there, isn't it? So basically we're not looking at this. Don't look
Yeah.
at that, look at this again, isn't it?
When you look at Israel, Draco sits in, today, Israel in the Middle East.
Yes.
Draco sits. So they're
Yeah.
honouring Draco. It's the same as if you look at Greece, Draco sits immediately above on the horizon.
Yeah.
So all these places where the like Orthodox religions are, or the Orthodox Christianity or Orthodox Judaism, it's all Draco. They're all
Yeah.
worship. That's why they wear black robes. It's not really. It's to do with Saturn and Satan and Sirius.
All the same
So
thing, innit?
they wear the black robes because of Dracula. Black
Yeah, yeah.
robes. Whether
Yeah.
they're Orthodox Christians or whether they're Orthodox Jews.
And they're feeding off our energy. Is that because, we're talking about the crown or Kronos, etc., that they are because they're cut off from source, whereas we're not? Is that why they need the adrenochrome and the Lucian and the energy and
Yeah, there was a battle happened a long time ago. They were thrown out of the constellations. We're still connected to the heavens.
right,
If
yeah.
you've seen any, like, I used to be a flat earther, but if you've seen any of the old flat earth videos where you've got the pole star and it's spinning and you see
Yeah.
all the stars spinning, so everything stays still and everything spins around the pole star. Well, there was a great battle in the heaven and they were thrown out and they're not connected, but you and I are still connected.
Yeah,
Reaching
yeah.
through the heavens, and there's a thread. It's called the Magdala memory. It's a thread in the brain where we get the word Magdalene, Mary
Yeah,
Magdalene.
yeah,
Mary is
yeah.
water, water is maritime. So remember the waters of salvation, where we
Yeah.
came from. The heavens, it's the waters above, the waters below. So they're
Yeah.
not connected, they've been cut off. And the only way that they can connect is by hosting us or,
Mm.
feeding off us. They never get through Orion's belt. They can never get past Andromeda because
But we
Andromeda
can.
is, but we can, yeah. Every day we can. And that's what I
Well,
was talking about on. This I was just mentioning a minute ago, Leo, Cancer, I've lost it now. Gemini. This software is a nightmare to control with a mouse. It's a bloody nightmare.
yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
amazing stuff.
Gemini, Taurus, right, if we can get round. This is the journey we take daily, and then we arrive in Aries, and then we go up to Andromeda, the House of Cephas, avoiding Draco the Beast, and into the Pole Star. We're a minor under the law. Ursa Minor is why we're a minor under the law.
Oh, yeah,
We're
of course.
separated from the Father, our Father who art in heaven. This is the Pole Star, the gate to heaven, right? And we have to make this journey through the ecliptic every day through the 12 houses to arrive at the Ram of God, Aries, random
Yeah,
access memory, Ram,
yeah.
Ramoses, Moses, Moses
Oh,
taught us, Ramoses. So the Ram is inside the brain, which is part of this part of Scotland, Aries, which is Edinburgh. So the mind of God is Edinburgh, and Aries, but we have to enter the Lamb of God. We have to go through the houses. So if you're a Gemini, you have to work all the way through Gemini in your day. And these planets that come in interfere with the houses. So Mars might not be too good for a Gemini. Saturn might not too good, but Saturn is good for intellect and reading, and So depending on your star sign, that's how Jesus says you take up your cross daily. So, oh shit, here comes Saturn. That's not going to be good for me. I'm a Virgo. Saturn's anger, Saturn's ruling, Saturn's. Um, so you know that energy is going to be bad. And as we travel through the day, this is how our ancestors did it. It wasn't a case that you had to learn it, you just knew it. well, I was born in September, I'm this, I'm the, oh, that planet's going to interfere with me. Let's go to this place. That's what we would avoid, you know, these
And so
energies.
you would you kind of work, do you have to kind of like work through those energies, like you said, when you talk about moving through the houses or
We do now. I study star forts as well, as you know. And star forts and church steeples had a different purpose from what
yeah,
most people realise. They actually created a force field over us. Remember this Ronald Reagan in the Star Wars program?
yeah,
Remember
yeah,
Star Wars, shield up, for protectors.
yeah, yeah,
Well, the ancient world, which everybody are calling Tartaria, Taurus, the bull, Taurus,
yeah,
Taurus, Tartan, the Tartan army,
yeah, yeah.
Tarton, Tartaria,
Atom,
or
atom,
its field from Taurus would create an energy field. And all the churches and star forts created a force field over us. And these planets that came in never interfered with our energies. That's what our cities actually did. Our cities were creating energy, but they were also a force field from the interfering planets, what we know as the wandering stars. They
oh
created a
my
force
God.
over our cities and towns. So now that they don't exist because they've drained all the waterways, see the dark spaces between the planets here, where my
Yeah,
mouse is? This is the ancient waterways, and this is what I've been doing. This is North Scotland, say, the Bear, right? This is the
yeah.
Cairngorm Mountains. See this here? This is the River Tay. This is Loch Tay. This is
Interlock.
these are all the waterways. See the dark spaces? These are actually the physical waterways in Scotland. Anywhere in the world, you look
Wow.
and you'll find. Now, what they have done is they've drained the waterways. They've drained all the waterways through mining, quarrying. So the star forts don't operate. The star forts don't operate. So now we have to fight these fuckers because at one time we had this force field over us. And if we can restore the water again, if we can restore the levels of salt water, the salt water came in, it created an electrical charge
I
from,
was going to say it's
from
salt in it. Yeah.
salt, yeah, which create the crystals itself create H2O, hydrogen gas or brown gas. That brown gas would go up into the air, creating oxygen in the air, meaning if they sprayed anything, if they tried to interfere with anything, the oxygenization of the air or the ether would be a barrier for us. So when we were producing all this hydrogen for free energy, it created an oxygen barrier up in the air. It also
Wow.
created a hydrogen barrier because when you burn hydrogen, all you get, I used to have a hydrogen business, all you get when you burn hydrogen is oxygen. So we created a buffer zone in the air. That also allowed us to put steeples up. And those steeples were not just pulling down electricity, they created from one church to another church to another church to another church. A church has a leader, and the leader is called a deacon, okay, in churches, right? There are three bright stars within a constellation or within an asterism, and they are called deacons.
Yeah.
There are at
Wow.
least 4 or 5 churches in a village or a town. Doesn't matter how small, how big, there are at least 4 or 3. These are deacons representing the bright stars. So
Yeah.
our ancestors not only pulled electricity down through these ancient spaces in the heavens, the
Yeah.
waterways, using the waterways, they also used it as a force field to prevent the negative energy of Sirius and the 7 wandering stars. We actually
Boo.
had a system in place. And people, Tartaria, flat Earth, people are going to hate me for saying this. They're all psyops.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. I'd say.
The Earth, the Earth is a constant that everything projects from the tree, and all the tree is Britain, and we create this realm. There are no
Yeah.
boundaries. We use less than 4% of the brain, some people say.
Yeah.
Brain is a muscle sitting in water. That is what the Earth is. The brain represents every star and every constellation. Even here, you've got the Fornax, you've got, you
Yeah.
can go on. Things in the human body, which are the stars, and you Cephas is the right side of the brain. Jesus says, cast your net to the right side. the house of resurrection, the man must be born again. How can a man be born again? You have to
Yeah.
enter the womb a second time. No. It's born again in the heavens. These are all the physical body, and the earth, I'm saying flat earthers are going to hate me. The earth is a flat conscious plane, which is ever expanding. There is no ice walls. That's them that told us that, because
Yeah.
we are the creators. And the earth, or what we understand, is this world sitting on water and pillars, the stars, which represent the stars. With more land now than there used to be because they've drained all the waters.
Yeah.
The water was our power. If we return the salt water again, I don't know if it's possible, because this is the other thing when you study these things.
Mhm.
Everywhere where they have blocked the water, it's, it's called a reservoir to reserve,
Yeah. Yeah.
go, or a dam. Like, what?
It's just absolutely, it's just mind blowing, isn't it? Like the more you get into it, I've got to tell you this, Stephen, because when you just said that earlier about, like about them holding up the kind of the force field, I'd say I was a little tuned in, but I found this piece of paper and I'd wrote on it, and this is no word of a lie. I'd wrote they came and slaughtered all the druids because they were the ones holding up the dome, right?
What?
And when I woke up in the morning, I thought, oh, what have I wrote that for? And and I must have just like been a bit tuned in. And I wrote that down. And when you were talking, then I was like, yeah, that's what I meant. That was it. Like, because I just remember it's like what I was saying in it. It's like it's a deep remembering. It's not like it's like, and it just makes
I
sense.
I know these things. I can say what I talk about confidently. Back in what happened, I can say that confidently as well, because I watched one of your Dark Matters, and you spoke about a voice physically speaking to you at
Yeah.
one point, telling you. Well, in 2001, I was a Christian minister in 2001 when the Twin Towers happened. I was
Yeah.
studying to be a minister. I wasn't actually, I was a youth minister at that point, and I was decorating a friend's house within the church, and the Twin Towers was happening on the news, and there was I can remember it. I remember it all the time because that's where my journey began. I walked into the living room thinking, "This isn't right. This isn't real," and it was on the TV. The Twin Towers coming down. Now I was a born again Christian, a youth minister at the time, and I looked and I thought, that can't be like everybody probably seen it. And I remember saying it can't be. And a voice, an audible voice came to me and said, Stephen, what you're seeing now, there's going to be much more. Remember this date, 2020, 20, no, you just said 22. Remember this 22 years from now. That's what you
Yeah.
said, the voice. Because I was a Christian at the time, I thought, I heard God
Yeah. Yeah.
physically saying to me, this is nothing. What you're about to see, count 22 years from now, Stephen. And
Yeah.
22, 2021 takes us to 2023. 322 is Skull and Bones. So
Yeah.
that's all been part of my journey. I realised that, you know, there was a visit, there's someone or something guiding us. And, all of us, because,
Yeah.
because of religion, like, you couldn't really say that. You sometimes see as mad, but now I have a deeper understanding of who God is and who the creator and who the image. It's actually our ancestors, all of us. It's everyone. That's who God is.
Yeah. Yeah.
10-year-old. And my interest in standing stone began at 10-year-old. So my mum was murdered. Um, and
No.
I had to trauma murder with my mum. And I went
Yeah.
within this. But at 10-year-old, I began to walk what I would say I began to walk with God. I actually physically believed in God was walking with me. And it's from
Yeah.
10-year-old the standing stones there. But
Well,
it's not just that. It's not that God was walking with me. It's like memory, Mary time,
yeah.
all
Yeah.
time. So our ancestors are still here. My mum's still around, and that's who God is. God is all these people, all these beings that were Elohim, that were God, and now
Yeah.
they're I believe they're in the tree, the energy of the tree, and this is why a lot of people are becoming aware of things, because it's the ancient Celtic tradition. Arthur, in the time of need, Arthur will rise and all his children with him. And that's what's happening. We're remembering, and all the children rising again. Because our ancestors, the veil's that thin now, because of where we're at in the time of Aquarius, which is the time of brotherly love and sharing knowledge and information. When the veil's that thin now that our ancestors are able to communicate as they once did.
Yeah, that's what I kind of sense. Like the veil kind of would have been thinner. It got dead thick. We've all forgot who we are, and then it's coming back round again, isn't it? And it's getting thinner, and we're starting to see or seer, as I say. Like more like that, isn't it? And trauma certainly. Sorry to hear about your mum. That's awful, but I had trauma when I was younger. And it definitely opens your pineal gland like earlier. Maybe, who knows? But apparently that's what they say.
Who I am, because I wouldn't have. I mean, I got into standing stones because it was a difficult time, and I had a horrible stepdad, and I left. I used to run away, and I used to go to standing stones, and I was all day there reading the sun and the moon and the things moving over, the light moving over, and the energies. Yeah. So these things are meant to happen. If it didn't happen, I would have never connected as a child, because I was a child. And as we go into adulthood, they strip us of that innocence, of that hidden sort of spirituality that we've all got access to.
Yeah, and I suppose it's that thing in scripture again, is it? It says like, you have to be kind of childlike to enter the kingdom of heaven, don't you? It's like a state of being, like you said, removing yourself from those lower kind of lead-based frequencies and going up into those higher frequencies and stuff. And then we'll all be popping through portals willy-nilly, like, apparently we were the Jews, according to Neil. We were the kind of, they called them Jews, but J's Latinized. So we would have been the Jews, which were the yew tree worshippers, and that the yew trees are actually portals, according to some people. We had Shaman Dave on and say that yew trees were portals, and still are. And we would have been the yew worshippers, the yews.
Sycamore trees, yew trees. The sycamore tree is the tree between worlds.
Yeah.
That's why we have Adrian's Wall.
Yeah.
Maybe the sycamore tree got cut down, the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves tree. Remember all that carry on last year? It's all part of the set. I remember that the sycamore tree was chopped down. It was all over the news. It was used in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Well, the word Robin. This is another thing. We need to come back on and do another show, because there's so much. I get people who are proud to be Scottish. Nationalism is a falsehood. Scottish nationalism was William Wallace was a Norman, an invader, whose father came to our lands. He was one of them. Robert the Bruce was robbing the Bruce, robbing the head for us, robbing the head. Robin Hood, this is the Hood. Robin Hood was robbing the head. All these people that came in, this is what, I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I love William Wallace, what a hero." No, that's the Scottish history that they've sold you. That's one of them you're honouring. But the word robbing Hood, or robbing, to steal.
Yeah.
To steal the head. And the whole sycamore tree that got cut down, it was last year, it was all over the news.
Yeah.
The sycamore tree is a tree, just like the yew tree, between worlds. But the sycamore tree was like a ladder between worlds. And they chopped the sycamore down. Somebody did randomly last year. It was all over the news. Big. It's all stories. But for those who pay attention to catch it, the sycamore tree, to them, being chopped down, represented us moving into the age of Aquarius. Let's chop the tree down so that it can't climb up into the upper. You see what I'm saying?
So that's why that tree went. That I can't remember the name of the tree.
That's why it was in the Robin Hood film. And the Robin Hood film, the actual film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he's with a black. I can't remember the actor now. He's a well-known actor.
Morgan Freeman,
Morgan Freeman. Morgan. The word "mor" means head in Hebrew, or teacher. Gan means garden. The Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. So Morgan, free man, is with Kevin Costner. Is it Kevin Costner? Yeah.
Yes.
And they're standing there. There's a little boy up the tree. It's the very first scene of the tree. And he says to the little boy, "Did you hunt? Did you kill the master's deer?" or stag or whatever. And he said, no, no. And he says, come down out of the tree. Because in that scene, they arrive at Hadrian's Wall, the sycamore tree, which represents the tree between worlds. Hadrian's Wall represents Hades, the underworld, the lower world. And the sycamore trees on Hadrian's Wall, Robin Hood and Morgan Freeman, the head of the Garden of Freeman, and Kevin Costner, not too sure about deciphering that name, but anyway, he plays Robin Hood, and Robin Hood is the head. But the word Robin, just like robbing the Bruce, Robert the Bruce, robbing the head, it's all code, stealing from the head, the centre of heaven, the crown. But they chopped that tree down symbolically, telling us we're moving into the age of Aquarius. Nobody's ascending. Nobody's going up the sycamore tree.
I was going to say, because the sycamore gap tree, weren't it? That's the one that they chopped down symbolically, isn't it? So that I can't remember the name.
Gap is a demon.
Gap is a demon. I've been saying that because it's in legal and banking. It's generally accepted accounting principles, and gaps are an ancient
system. See how it applies to the legal system. You've got Hadrian's Wall. Everything below Hadrian's Wall, the legal system is lost at sea. Everything in Hadrian's Wall is the maritime law, the bar. Everything below the sycamore tree is cut off. And that's why they took the sycamore gap. The gap is the demon that gets in the way. The gap is the demon between the living and the dead. The living is above on the North Celestial Pole.
Yeah.
It's just see that
some people just aren't to have they just like the capacity to kind of take this kind of information. It's like, oh my God. But it's like, like say everything is symbolic, and they've just got this, they've remembered and that knowledge down where we've all just forgotten it. So like maritime means sea of time, doesn't it? So they've just, I think, said they've just been formed in their consciousness through time. And that's what I got told.
This is below Hadrian's Wall, right? So the sycamore gap tree and the yew tree, it's all about trees. The spine of Albion is a tree. So the yew tree sits here, right? The bow of this ship is called the Pupus deck. This is called the Argos Navi. The Avatar film 1 and 2, The Way of Water is the new Avatar film, the recent one, The Way of Water, maritime, right? The Avatar people, or the film Avatar, they're blue like the Picts.
Yeah.
They're called the Navi. The Navi is this ship. It's called Jason and the Argonauts, the Argus Navi, the underworld with the all right? The front of the ship, well, back to the Avatar movie, they're called Navi. The Hebrew word for a prophet is Navi. Elijah, my other name is Eliyahu, Elijah, the prophet. Navi. Wow. This is the Argus Navi. It's all connected in the films and the movies, but we need to get out of this. This is the lower world, the lower realm, materialism, ruled by Sirius. Right? And above Sirius, you've got Lepus down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You can arise out of their citizenship in the morning. This is the dark of nighttime. It's also a clock. So Sirius is the bright sun that rises in the summertime, before the sun. Right?
Awesome.
Sirius is the bright sun behind the sun. It shines on us, the lupus, or the air of the throne. It can either shine its shadows, the shadows in our life, and we go back, and then we go back down the rabbit hole, which is down the Eridanus River. See here, Eridanus. This goes over spine of Albion. It's the great river of the snake that goes down. So we can rise up, arise in our sonship, and we can rise up into Orion's belt, face the Taurus field, go through the Taurus field, through the Pleiades, and through into Aries, the Lamb of God. I've moved this. Through into Aries, the Lamb of God, to receive the crown or the prize, or we can rebel feed the system, desire the system, fight the Taurus field, go back down the rabbit hole, chase everything, and end up back in the citizenship or the lower of the ship. And this is called the canopus, and the front of it is called the pupus, the Pope deck, the poop deck, where they keep your record. So if you don't get off the ship at Alexandria, and Alexandria is right here, the real Alexandria in Glasgow, a place called where they kept the record.
Where was it called again? Sorry, Stephen, I missed that.
Alexandria. It wasn't in Egypt. Egypt wasn't the place. The spine of Albion is lower Albion is Egypt. Upper Albion is Jerusalem in heaven. And Alexandria was where you had to get off the ship. The Romans took your money. And the other place where you had to get off the ship was Bristol. Bristol was this manifest over Bristol, which Brit means is the Ashkenazi way of saying Brit, a covenant. Bristol. Pay your toll at Bristol, or you stay on the ship, their citizenship, or you rise up into your sonship, having your Aries, full RAM, full access memory.
Wow,
like a computer. And then rise up into the house of resurrection.
Yeah.
You don't need the sacrifice of the blood of Andromeda to be fed to the beast, because the beast has been dealt with. Rise up in Pegasus and enter into the house of Cephas. Islam has Pegasus, the horse. Pegasus is the horse, the hippocampus, the back part of the hippo horse, hippocampus. You rise up and into Cephas and you're born again as God, as the
Well, I think we can pack up now. I think we've just worked out that, well, you have, Stephen. I'm not joining in. I've just found you, but the nature of all existence. Well done, us. If this doesn't go viral, there's something. This is the thing that bothers me. We could put this out, and they'll be like, if you do a funny cat video, it'll get millions of views. We're telling people the true nature of all existence, and they go, meh.
They don't watch it. They don't watch it. I know. I'm surprised that I have so many followers. I mean, I love all the followers that I've got. I get occasional idiots that come on to cause trouble, but I have had loyal followers. This all began for me on Facebook, just posting my picture. But are like family now. They're better. They're closer than family. Like many people, when the COVID hit, I lost a lot of people. But I was speaking about this long time ago, and I lost a lot of people back in 2012, 2014. And what I know now, who really woke up during COVID and just prior to COVID, these are my family. But the more I study this stuff, the more I realize it. Like I was deep in Christianity, I was deep in Judaism. There's a bit where Jesus is actually hung on the cross, and somebody says to him, "Your mother's here," and he says, Jesus said, or it's recorded that Jesus says, "Where is she? My brothers and sisters, my mother and father are those who do, they're not of my blood." And I get that. It's not necessarily your own genetic bloodline. Your family are these here who are on this journey.
Well, and I think that's it, isn't it? And it's never been more prevalent than now, after the last 4 years or so, where people have lost family and people, to that degree, and then you vibed your tribe, man.
Well, but we had the houses in the heavens originally. We associated ourselves with different houses in the heavens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, honestly, it's more than fascinating for me. Like, and it's just been a key, it's just like something that someone's put a key in a lock and gone, and my brain's gone boom, and I've just got it. And I hope everyone else does. I mean, we'll probably leave it there for today, because obviously we've done 2.5 hours. But if you're up for coming back, Stephen, let's definitely do a part 2. Oh,
we'll do it, but this was really just an intro, and I'm like that. I'm by nature, unless I'm actually delivering a presentation. There's so much stuff. I'm all over the place. By nature, I'm kind of, but for the next time, what we do is, if you pick a topic and we'll look at, whatever we've spoken about, we'll look at a certain topic. I'd like to show the movement of the ages, because if I could show that, maybe another time, you can actually see the battle of the dragon.
Yeah,
And there's a battle in the heavens, and we represent Hercules, the son of God.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
As I begin to think, did these gods exist, or have we imagined them and created them? And because there can't be other gods. How can there possibly? How can the? This is the thing that troubled me in Christianity and Judaism.
Yeah,
Judaism doesn't believe in other gods. They teach that the ancient Jews worship other gods like Baal and Molech, but they don't actually believe in the physical existence of other deities, because that would just make the Almighty Hashem, the Almighty Creator, not almighty, if there's other gods
yeah,
there. And as I've came along in this journey, I've begun to realize that there aren't we're the image and the reflection of God, exactly as it says, and we've created the gods to the
yeah,
point that beings in history have taken on the personas, because it's all about a persona being in this world, whether it's the legal system or it's about a persona not being true to spirit or being that you are. You're either a living being or you're under the legal fiction. And most people are not living because they
yeah,
don't realize God. But we've created all these other gods, which we all live in fear of. Well, there are only two emotions: love and fear, or hate and
mm,
fear. Really, that's what all there is. But God
yeah,
is love, so all these other ones must be an invention. That's how I see it. And who
yeah.
invented them?
Yeah, I always say that, like, everyone's always saying that they're doing it, but I said, who is they? If you pull back the Wizard of Oz curtain, it's us behind, it's there. You're
Well,
seeing yourself. It's our name on
well,
the end of the credits of the movie because we've joined in with it. It's us.
that's why they walk away with their hands clean, because
Yeah,
not only do they tell us everything, they do tell us everything. That what they call revelation of method. They tell us
yeah,
everything, but not only do they tell us that, they don't tell us. Well, they do tell us as well. They tell us that we are gods. This new spiritual new age movement is out there telling everybody that you are God, and it's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
So they so,
yeah,
but the next time I'd like to look at
yeah,
because yeah, there's lots more. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, wonderful,
Well,
wonderful
can
talking to you.
you stop the share screen, Stephen, and we'll sign off and say goodbye. But yeah, we'll book another one in. Like, it's just absolutely mind-bendingly. It's more than fascinating. Like I say, it just
I know
resonates
I didn't
so
even
much.
mark the stuff. That's the thing. Where is the
Yeah.
tune?
Oh yeah, you.
Um,
That's
yeah,
it. We're back.
go back.
Hey, what a
Yeah,
journey!
I didn't.
Wow,
No, I mean, I had a whole presentation that I was going to show, but I didn't even do that.
we didn't
So,
get to it.
but
But it.
really, I am so happy just to yap to you.
Oh
I
yeah, I
don't
love.
watch it. I'll just we'll close up, but just and let you get on this. But I don't usually watch other channels or anything, but I have binged on some of your stuff the last few days and last week or so. And yeah, we're on the same page, but it's so vast. And what I want to do is just I'd like to show people this. They can learn it from themselves. It's not about me. It's not about what Stephen JDBE is. It's for my. I'm doing this. I'm leaving this for. I'm doing it. It's a legacy that we all have to leave for everybody. It's
Absolutely.
it's not. This isn't just an opinion. I'm verifying it in language and name places and
Yeah.
places throughout the country. And it's not just me. You've got people like Larry Cypress is doing it. Who are
Yeah.
picking up on the same things. Because it's written all over this country. So. But thank you for having me on. It's been awesome.
No, thank you, Stephen. It's been absolutely awesome. It's going to absolutely blow everyone's heads, and I know there's a queue of people waiting for it. So, yeah, definitely we'll come back and do a part two. And like I say, if you're up for it, a three and a four, I'll just keep going because I could just literally listen to it forever because it's just so beautiful. It's just like just pieces it all together. It's just so beautiful. So, no, thank you so much for taking the time. And like I say, thank you everyone for watching. And we will definitely be back with a part two, absolutely 100%.
Excellent.
Thanks
Thank you.
so much, Stephen. I'll press pause and say good night.